Good heavens. I was taken aback when I saw my swollen face in the bathroom mirror, the result of crying myself to sleep. My eyes were so puffy that my pupils were barely visible. How could someone's eyes swell up this much? I stared at my reflection in shock, too stunned even to turn on the faucet. This is serious, I muttered. I look awful. After a long stare, I finally squeezed some toothpaste onto my toothbrush. No matter how bad my face looked, I still had to go to school. The sudden drop in temperature made me wrap a scarf tightly around my neck as I left for school. Listening to the songs on my old MP3 player, I felt a strange nostalgia walking to school in my uniform, as if I had returned to my old self. When I reached the school gate, I was shocked to see the school name on the plaque. I stood there, eyes closed and reopened, hoping it would change, but it didn't. The plaque still read, Jagam High School. Damn it, why did I come here? Despite having visited several times recently to leave notes in Soenjae's desk, I couldn't believe I had unconsciously come here. I checked my phone for the time, 7:30 a.m. I thought I was early, but now I realized I was about to be late. I spun around and started running back, only to collide with someone head-on. Ooh! My phone flew out of my hand as I stumbled backward. I'm sorry, the person apologized, bending down to pick up my phone. They handed it to me with a slight bow. I accepted it, looking up at the person's face, and my already swollen eyes widened further. Oh. Soenjae seemed to recognize me, but he didn't acknowledge me verbally. Despite spending the night crying over him, seeing his face in person was both surprising and heartwarming. I fidgeted with my phone and smiled faintly. Hi. Aren't you from a different school? Soenjae's voice was cold, his words unfriendly. Ah. I trailed off, nodding. I don't know how you found out about me, but this feels like stalking. What? No, it's not like that. How did you know my second-hand market ID? I didn't know it was you. Honestly. Then why did you buy my gym clothes? Well, that was. Why did you call me to the snack shop? No, that was because I lost my bag. Soenjae's face was colder than the morning air. His displeased expression remained as he glanced at my name tag, then moved closer, shoving one hand into his pocket. I don't even have a fan club. That's because I didn't tell anyone about joining the company either. His face was etched with annoyance. He took another step closer, too close for comfort, so I backed away. Just one more time. See me at school again. My swollen eyes blinked heavily. I expected him to follow up with a threat, like the last time, but he didn't. Soenjae walked past me and entered the school gate. Unlike before, when he told me not to call his name again, this time, he warned me not to meet him at school again. Calling his name or encountering him here might lead to more than just a scowl next time. Watching Soenjae's back as he crossed the school grounds, I finally turned around. With my lateness confirmed, I had no motivation to run. Perhaps it was because of Soenjae. I understood his displeasure, it was only natural. But Soenjae, I have no other choice. The look on his face would haunt me for a long time, a painful reminder of this encounter. As I trudged down the road, someone approached, bent forward, peering at my face. When I lifted my head from my scarf, Park In-hyuk's eyes widened in surprise. It really is you, he said, blocking my path with his hands in his pockets. Why are your eyes like that? Did you cry? I pouted and looked up at Park In-hyuk. Why is he so damn tall? Did you come to see Soenjae this early in the morning? That's impressive. No. No, I didn't. I came here unconsciously. I wasn't coming to see Soenjae. Park In-hyuk looked at me quizzically. Since the topic was out, I decided to relay the message. Make sure to tell Ryu Soenjae. It really wasn't on purpose. What wasn't? Everything. The second-hand market, bumping into him this morning. It was all a coincidence. Bark and Hayek shrugged and nodded, saying he understood. Feeling a bit spiteful, I glared at him once before waving my arms and heading down the road. Glancing back, I saw Bark and Hayek's figure walking towards the school gate. I sighed and resumed walking. During cleaning time, the homeroom teacher handed me a trash bag and a pair of tongs. As punishment for being late, I had to clean up the school grounds. I dragged the trash bag around, picking up litter from the flower beds and the ground with the tongs. The 50-liter bag was too large to fill with just candy wrappers and paper scraps. How am I supposed to fill this? I muttered, looking up at the impossibly blue sky. See me at school again, Anne. The clouds seemed to morph into Soenjae's disapproving face. I understood why he was upset. An unfamiliar person calling his name, hugging him, professing love, and then showing up as a buyer on the second-hand market, it was enough to make anyone uncomfortable. My brain got it, but my heart didn't. I spent the night crying over him, thinking about how precious he was to me. But of course, Soenjae didn't know that. It was only natural that he was upset, yet it felt unfair and hurtful. It really wasn't intentional, I grumbled, pouting as I picked up fallen leaves and stuffed them into the trash bag. The homeroom teacher looked at me and the trash bag in disbelief. The bag was filled with ginkgo and dry leaves. There are candy wrappers and paper scraps at the bottom, I pointed out. Oh, come on. I mumbled, lowering my head. Next time you're late, you'll be watering the flower beds. Yes, sir. I muttered, my voice trailing off. Wow. I walked into the bathroom to brush my teeth and was startled by the face staring back at me in the mirror. My eyes were swollen as if stung by bees. I couldn't even see my pupils. How could someone's eyes swell up like this? Too shocked to even turn on the faucet, I just kept staring at my reflection. This is serious. My face. After a long while, I finally squeezed toothpaste onto my toothbrush. No matter how serious it was, I still had to go to school. Because the temperature had suddenly dropped, I wrapped a scarf around my neck and left. I got off the bus and walked towards the school. Listening to the songs on the MP3 player I found yesterday, the walk felt nostalgic and strangely pleasant. When I reached the school, I was taken aback by the sign at the gate. So much so that I stopped dead in my tracks, closed my eyes tightly, then opened them again. No matter how many times I looked, it didn't change. Soenjae High School. Damn, why did I come here? Even though I had been here several times recently to leave notes in Soenjae's desk, how could this happen unconsciously? The mind is indeed a scary thing. I checked the time on my phone. 7:30, I thought I was early, but now it seemed certain I would be late if I left now. I turned around and started running back, only to collide head-on with someone. Ooh. My phone fell to the ground as I staggered back. Oh, I'm sorry. The other person bent down, picked up my phone, and handed it to me. I bowed my head and took the phone. Looking up at the person, I widened my eyes in surprise. Oh. Soenjae looked at me, recognizing me but not wanting to acknowledge it. Last night, I had cried while thinking about Soenjae, and now I was surprised and happy to see him. I fiddled with my phone and smiled lightly. Hi. Aren't you from a different school? His voice was unfriendly and cold. I trailed off, then nodded. How do you know so much about me? Isn't this stalking? What? No, it's not like that. How did you know my second-hand marketplace ID? I didn't know it was you. Really? Then why did you buy my gym clothes? Oh, that's... Why did you call me out at the snack shop? Oh? No, that's because I lost my bag. Soenjae's face was colder than the morning air. He looked at my name tag with displeasure, took a step closer, and put one hand in his pocket. I don't even have a fan cafe. Well. I didn't tell anyone I joined the company. As if everything was just too much, his face was full of discontent. He took another step closer, making me instinctively take a step back. If I see you at school one more time. I blinked my swollen eyes. Just like before, I expected him to say, "I'll kill you," but he didn't. Soenjae brushed past me and entered the school gate. Before, he said not to call his name again. Now, he said not to show up at his school again. If I called his name or showed up again, it wouldn't end with just a glare. I watched his back as he walked across the field, then turned away. Being late was now certain, so I didn't feel like running. Maybe it was because of Soenjae. I understood why he was upset, but it still hurt. Last night, I cried thinking about you. You're so precious to me, but you don't know that. Feeling both wronged and bitter, I slowly walked back down the street. During cleaning time, my homeroom teacher handed me a trash bag and a pair of tongs as punishment for being late. Dragging the trash bag along, I picked up the trash scattered around the garden and on the ground. My teacher told me to fill the bag halfway, but with only snack wrappers and pieces of paper, it seemed impossible. The trash bag was a 50-liter one. How am I supposed to fill this? I tilted my head back and gazed at the incredibly blue sky. If I see you at school one more time. The clouds turned into Soenjae's face, looking very displeased and annoyed. I understood why he was upset. Everything seemed so clear in my head, but my heart still ached. Last night, I cried thinking about you. You're so precious to me, but you don't know that. With my lips powdered, I picked up fallen leaves and put them into the trash bag. My teacher looked at me and the trash bag with a baffled expression. The bag was filled with ginkgo leaves and dried tree leaves. There are some snack wrappers and pieces of paper at the bottom too. I said meekly, lowering my head. Next time you're late, you'll be watering the garden. Yes, sir. Go back to class. I bowed and turned back. I entered the classroom and sat down. I opened my textbook, but a sigh escaped my lips. I felt strangely down, just plain sad. I could try changing something other than saving Soenjae now that I was back in the past. I could work on my grades, the college entrance exam, university, or other things. But nothing interested me. I didn't think I did that badly on the college entrance exam, and I wasn't unhappy with my university. If there was something I wanted, it was to attend school without feeling depressed. Back then, I always felt alone, missing Hyunju. It's the second time I'm experiencing being 18, and I'm still feeling out of place. I rested my chin on my hand and stared at the clock on the wall. Soenjae's image flashed through my mind, retrieving my bag from the wall and bringing it to me. Did he overhear my conversation with Park In Hyuk while passing by? Or was it just his way of saying, "Take your bag and leave"? Imsol. The teacher standing at the front of the classroom suddenly called my name, making me turn my head. Class has started. Stop staring at the clock and look at your textbook. Oh, okay. I forced an awkward smile and lowered my gaze. Somehow, today felt like a day for something delicious after school. Ryu's Ganjatang. Standing in front of the restaurant, I looked up at the sign. This was the restaurant run by Soenjae's parents, a pilgrimage site for Soenjae's fans. After I started liking Soenjae, I came here once to eat bone soup and drink soju. At first, I pretended to be just another customer, diligently eating my meal, but then I got drunk alone and stared at Soenjae's autograph and photo on the wall, even taking pictures. When I paid the bill and received the receipt, I grabbed Soenjae's mother's hand and thanked her for giving birth to Soenjae. In hindsight, it was all drunken behavior. I shook my head vigorously and pulled open the restaurant door. I chose a secluded spot and sat down. Since it was a weekday, Soenjae's mother was the only one there. One bone soup and a bottle of soju, please. Soenjae's mother placed a bottle of water on the table and looked me up and down. Why was she looking at me like that? I plastered a big smile on my face. Is someone else coming? No, it's just me. Then why are you ordering soju? Oh. I looked down at my clothes. I was wearing my school uniform. I had come straight after school. I let out an awkward laugh. Please give me cider instead. Trying to look as innocent as possible, I widened my eyes. Soenjae's mother gave me a strange look but eventually placed a bottle of cider and a bottle opener on the table before going back to the kitchen. With my hands clasped between my knees, I glanced around the restaurant. Everything was just as it was before, except for the lack of Soenjae's autograph and photos on the walls. While sipping the cider, my bone soup arrived. If you need anything else, let me know, Soenjae's mother said, and I cheerfully replied, okay. I took a bite of the sausage and egg side dish first, then started picking the meat off the bones. After removing all the meat, I took out the bones from the earthenware pot and mixed my rice in the soup. I took a big spoonful and put it in my mouth, my eyes closing involuntarily as a hum of satisfaction escaped my lips. It was so delicious. Suddenly, an apron appeared beside me. I turned my head to see Soenjae's mother holding it. Wear this apron so you don't get your uniform dirty. Oh, thank you. I accepted the apron and tied it around my neck. Chamisol was written on it, just like the apron from the snack shop. With the apron neatly in place, I picked up my spoon. I topped my rice with kimchi and took a bite, followed by a piece of green chili pepper dipped in soybean paste. As I chewed, a plate of sausage and egg side dish was placed on the table again. This is a one-time dish, but here's a service. Oh my, thank you so much. Getting service from Soenjae's mother felt like a blessing. I stood up and bowed deeply. She waved her hand, indicating my actions were too much. Is it to your taste? Yes, it's absolutely delicious. I put down my spoon and gave her a thumbs up. I've never seen anyone enjoy their meal so much. It makes me happy. Hearing her say that made me determined to eat even more enthusiastically. Are you a high school student? Yes. Students these days prefer burgers over haejanguk, don't they? Oh, I like yakko bibimbap, Soenjae soup, and bone soup the most. I recited the food names with wide eyes and a clear voice, making Soenjae's mother laugh out loud. You have similar tastes to mine. There's a beef restaurant further down this alley that serves excellent yakko bibimbap. You should try it next time. I nodded as if I would go there the very next day. If I had a notebook and pen, I would have written down the restaurant's name. My son's around your age. I wish he had a girlfriend like you. My mouth dropped open. I covered my face with my hands, blushing. No way. I couldn't possibly. Seeing me get flustered, Soenjae's mother chuckled and left, saying to let her know if I needed anything else. Cupping my flushed cheeks, I replayed the word girlfriend in my mind. I let out a silly laugh and picked up my spoon. Mother, in the future, I'll come to this restaurant and thank you for giving birth to Ryu Soenjae. I apologize in advance. Closing my eyes tightly, I resumed eating. While engrossed in my meal, the restaurant door opened. Mom, I'm here. I was dipping a pepper in soybean paste when someone entered. I nearly spat out my food. It was Park In-hyuk. My hand went limp and I dropped the pepper. There was no time to pick it up as I pulled the apron over my face. Damn. This is perfect for a misunderstanding. I knew it was Soenjae's family's restaurant, but I didn't come to see Soenjae. I assumed he'd be at the practice room at this hour. Ryu's gamjatang had excellent bone soup, and I wanted to eat something delicious because I felt down today. That's all. If Park In-hyuk saw me eating here, he'd probably tell Ryu Soenjae, hey, that girl was eating at your family's restaurant, and Ryu Soenjae would definitely think, she knows my second-hand marketplace ID, and now she knows my parents' restaurant too. Feeling distressed, I couldn't even swallow the food in my mouth. In-hyuk, have you eaten? Stayed at school. No practice today. No, today's a rest day. Still covering my face with the apron, I packed my bag. I took a sip of cider and pulled out my wallet. The cider cost 1,000 won and the bone soup was 7,000 won, but I only had a 10,000 won bill. I had no choice but to leave the 10,000 won on the table and get up. As I slowly walked towards the door, someone pulled it open from the outside. Holding onto the handle, I was pulled out and bumped my head into the chest of the person who opened the door. Lowering my gaze, I saw the person's shoes. White sneakers and grey uniform pants. The person was close and I could smell a lilac scent. It was Soenjae. My face stiffened with the thought that I shouldn't have run into him. I mustn't show my face. I lowered my head and stepped to the right, but Soenjae moved in the same direction. He didn't move any further. So, I stepped to the left, but Soenjae mirrored my movement again. An awkward silence ensued. I could feel him staring intently at me. This? Soenjae pointed at the apron covering my face. I gasped and ran off with the apron still on. Oh? She's running off with the apron. It was Park In-hyuk's voice. He must have come out when he saw someone running. I picked up speed. I'll return the apron. I'm not stealing it. I kept running even after I was far from Ryu's ganjitang. The apron, which I had let go of, was still hanging around my neck, flapping like a cape. My mom looked shocked when she saw me come home wearing an apron cape. Is this a new trend? Oh? No. I quickly ran to my room and closed the door. I took off the apron and hung it on the doorknob before collapsing onto my bed. Lying down, I glanced at the apron hanging on the door. Goodness, what is happening? I sat up, threw my bag on the floor, and took off my school blazer. As I removed my socks over my stockings, my phone buzzed briefly. Still holding one sock, I pulled my phone out of my blazer pocket. There was a message. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I opened it. It's you. What? Those two words were so unexpected that I checked the sender's name. It was the second-hand marketplace seller. Oh no. I quickly covered my gaping mouth with one hand. It was Soenjae. Was he asking if the person he saw at the ganjitang restaurant was me? I couldn't close my mouth as I stared at those two words when another message came in. Why did you steal our restaurant's apron? I didn't steal it, I typed frantically with crying emojis, then erased everything. I wasn't sure if I should reply or not. He didn't see my face, so I could just deny it. It was just another school uniform and I didn't even know what bone soup was. But thinking about it, who else would run away with an apron covering their face like that? I was debating whether to ignore it when another message came in. If you don't reply, I'll call you. Ua. I quickly opened the message input window. My hands were sweating, so I put the phone down on the bed and rubbed my palms on the blanket. Taking a deep breath, I picked up the phone again. Stay calm, Im-sol. Who is this? Even as I sent it, I was appalled. Who is this? Really? Pretending not to know seemed like the best option. I hoped Soenjae wouldn't message me anymore after this. But isn't that always the case? Hopes are like glass meant to be shattered. The cheerful sound of a new message arriving broke my thoughts. It's Soenjae. I know you're Im-sol. My heart sank. Oh no, even in this panicked moment, my heart raced at seeing Soenjae type my name. I needed to respond, but first I took a screenshot of Soenjae's message. I would print it, frame it, and hang it on my wall. I'd keep it as a family heirloom. When my death day came, I'd ask to be buried with it. I tapped my thumb over the keypad. I needed something definite to deter Soenjae from questioning further. My name is Kim Chun-bak, and I'm 70 years old. I think you sent this to the wrong person. I don't know how to answer calls. 5 minutes passed without another message, even though they had come quickly before. Did he believe it? I put the phone down on the bed and took off my left sock. I opened the door and went to put the socks in the washing machine, then drank a glass of cold water in the kitchen before returning to my room. I took off my school uniform and hung it up, changing into my pajamas. My pajamas consisted of a t-shirt we got as a group for the sports day and baggy sweatpants. Before going to wash up, I checked my phone just in case. Nothing had come in. Life continued as usual, alternating between school and home. Since running away from the Gamjatang restaurant, I hadn't gone to Jaegam High School, and Soenjae hadn't contacted me since that day. During self-study time, I looked at Soenjae's number saved in my contacts, then pressed the delete button. Suddenly coming to the past, I might return to my original time if I dozed off in class. Since I didn't know the mechanism, it seemed right to delete the contacts I had saved from the future. I searched more about time travel on the internet but didn't find anything useful. After reading that you could travel through time with certain objects or places, I started carrying the pocket watch with me. I took the pocket watch out of my pocket. I slid the cover open. The hour hand was nearing 1. The hour and minute hands moved very slowly, unlike the current time. It seemed broken, yet it moved, which was fascinating. I closed the cover and put it back in my pocket. The 8th period ended. As I put on the padded jacket I had left on the chair, he laughed. If someone saw you, they'd think it's the middle of winter. Aren't you cold? It was freezing this morning. It's only November. With the sudden drop in temperature in early November, I couldn't handle it with just my school blazer, so I wore my padded jacket. I was probably the only student in the whole school who wore a padded jacket. But who cares? I was cold. Enjoy your dinner. See you tomorrow. I pushed in my chair and left the classroom. The days were getting shorter as the year neared its end, and the wind blowing through the deepening darkness felt even sharper. I pulled the hood of my padded jacket over my head and zipped it all the way up. With my hands in my pockets, I stepped out of the school gate. Across the street, 2 guys in grey pants and white shirts were squatting in front of a stationery store, eating bread. One wore a red sweater, the other a grey sweatshirt under their jackets. Why do you get all the cream? What? You asked for a bite first and I gave it to you. The cream's only in the middle. You ate first when I opened the bag. Wait. Those shapes weren't unfamiliar. When the guy who was taking a big bite of the bread met my eyes. Oh. Park In-hyuk. Then the guy who just had his bread taken must be. When I shifted my gaze to the side, Park In-hyuk nudged the person next to him with his elbow. The guy in the grey sweatshirt, who had been looking at Park In-hyuk, turned his face. Oh my gosh, why are they here? Who are they meeting? I quickly turned and started walking faster. It didn't matter if they were here for something or to meet someone. What mattered was that I couldn't run into Soenjae. I sped up, practically jogging down the street, when someone grabbed my bag. It felt like getting caught by the collar, so I stopped and turned around. Soenjae was holding my bag. Kim Chun-bak. What? Kim Chun-bak. What's that? I blinked, confused. You said you didn't know how to answer calls, so I came to find you. Oh? What do you mean? I stammered in confusion, and Park In-hyuk put his arm around my shoulder in a friendly manner. At that moment, the messages I had sent Soenjae flashed through my mind like a poorly made presentation. I don't have a warrant, but you need to come with us. Oh? No, I need to go home. Let's go. Park In-hyuk spoke, and Soenjae pulled on my bag. As I was dragged along, I was too flustered to even make a sad face. Can't I just leave it? I asked carefully, but Soenjae didn't let go of my bag, and Park In-hyuk kept his arm draped over my shoulder. We left the alley and walked along a busy main road. Sandwiched between 2 tall guys, I looked like I was being taken away. Guys, did I embezzle funds or something? Is it really necessary to drag me like this? The dry plane tree leaves were scattered on the ground like they had been sprinkled there. As we walked, stepping on the leaves, Bark and Hyuk moved his hand from my shoulder to the hood of my head. You put that on quickly.
Huh?
Oh. Aren't you cold? I'm colder. Can you at least tell me where we are going? Soenjae, who had been holding my bag the entire time, stopped and flagged down a taxi. When it pulled over, Soenjae opened the back door. We are going to eat. Get in.
Huh?
Eat? I hadn't even agreed to get in when Bark and Hyuk pushed me from behind. I sat in the back seat with Bark and Hyuk, and Soenjae took the front passenger seat. My padded jacket rustled with every movement. Soenjae fastened his seatbelt and told the driver our destination. The taxi smoothly started moving. The place Soenjae mentioned was somewhere I knew. This taxi was heading to Ryu's Ganjatang, where I still hadn't returned the apron. Driver, please stop. I want to get out here. Please save me. On the way there, Radio Time was playing on the radio. Seo Yamun's I'm Not Alone was the listener's request song. I clasped my hands together and stared out the window. It felt like the yellow subtitles from an old anime were appearing at the bottom of the window. When you're having a hard time, look at the sky. I'm not alone. Bark and Hyuk kept fiddling with my padded jacket, asking if I wasn't hot. I looked up at the sky. Miss Seo Yamun, I looked at the sky. What should I do when it's hard because I'm not alone? Suddenly, the window whirred down. The wind slapped my face and blew my hair. When I looked down, I saw Bark and Hyuk's hand pressing the window button. What are you doing? Bark and Hyuk leaned forward and looked up at me. No, I thought you'd be really hot. No, I'm not hot. Really? I pushed Bark and Hyuk's hand away and rolled up the window. The wind stopped and my hair settled down. When you're in pain, cry out loud just once. I imagined myself screaming out loud while looking out the window. I briefly wondered how they found out where I went to school, but if they asked around about my uniform, it wouldn't be too hard to figure out. What I was curious about was why Soenjae came to find me and why we were going to Ryu's Ganjatang. I took out my phone and opened the messages I exchanged with Soenjae. His number appeared instead of his name because I had deleted the contact. My name is Kim Chun-Bark, and I am 70 years old. I think you sent this to the wrong person. I don't know how to answer calls. That was the last message between Soenjae and me. And then Soenjae had called me Kim Chun-Bark when he grabbed my bag. What was he trying to interrogate me about? Lying about being Kim Chun-Bark. Running off with the apron. Showing up at the Ganjatang restaurant. Knowing who Soenjae was. There were too many questions I couldn't prepare answers for. I put my phone back in my pocket and looked at Soenjae sitting in the front seat. Even in this situation, his side profile was so pretty. I sighed out of frustration. I turned my head to look at the sky. The sky darkened as the sun set. Ryu's Ganjatang. I sat across from Soenjae and Bark and Hyuk at a corner table. Soenjae's mother, recognizing me, was surprised to find out I knew her son and gave me 2001, saying I had forgotten my change last time. I was about to say I'd never been here before, but it was too late. Thank you. I bowed my head and stuffed the bills into my pocket. Bark and Hyuk went to help Soenjae's mother in the kitchen. I almost grabbed him to stop him. Soenjae and I were left alone at the table. Soenjae neatly placed spoons and chopsticks at each of our spots. I looked down at the utensils in front of me. They were so precisely aligned that I momentarily forgot I'd been dragged here and admired Soenjae's meticulousness. You, Soenjae said. I looked up from the utensils. Soenjae had his arm on the table, resting his chin in his hand, looking at me. I swallowed hard, waiting for his next words. What's your name?
Huh?
His unexpected question made me blink in surprise. You're not Kim Chun-Bark or 70 years old. I'm starting to think that even the name on your name tag might not be yours. Oh, the name tag is mine. Im Sol. I nodded, meeting Soenjae's gaze. He silently stared at my face. I couldn't hold his gaze any longer and looked away. I don't think I could ever attend a fan signing event. My heart was pounding so much, how could I stand in front of Soenjae to get an autograph? The kitchen was so quiet that I could hear Soenjae's mother and Park In-hyuk's conversation. Is Sol Soenjae's girlfriend? No, she's a fan. A fan? He's already got fans. Yes. She even has a nickname. Soenjae Runaway. She's going to run away with our Soenjae. Like, run away with him. Feeling embarrassed as the topic turned to me, I bowed my head like a guilty person and scratched my forehead. Park In-hyuk seemed like a bamboo forest, and I was mad at myself for not realizing this sooner. After a while, Park In-hyuk appeared with a large pot and placed it on the stove, turning the knob to ignite the flame. I'm starving. I even skipped my extra class because I was waiting for you. You skipped class? Why would you skip class to come to our school? Soenjae suddenly dragged me out, saying he had to catch you. Park In-hyuk said as he stirred the ganjatang with a ladle. I glanced at Soenjae's face. He was still resting his chin in his hand, staring at me. This is so embarrassing. Park In-hyuk dished out the ganjatang into small bowls. I'd rather get it over with, but after asking my name, Soenjae didn't ask me anything else. When I came here alone, I eagerly picked the meat off the bones and mixed the rice, but now I couldn't tell if the rice was going down my nose or my mouth. I picked up the last grain of rice sticking to the bowl with my chopsticks. For someone who couldn't tell if the rice was going down their nose or their mouth, I ate too well. I justified it to myself by saying Soenjae's mother was an excellent cook. Ah, I'm so full. Park In-hyuk rubbed his belly and glanced over the table, looking at me with curiosity. I thought you were a Pyongyang chili pepper fanatic. You didn't eat even one today.
Huh?
I cleaned up the table you sat at last time. 5 Pyongyang chili peppers were left with only the stems. I thought, this person knows how to eat ganjatang. Oh. That's because... I was struggling to answer Park In-hyuk's question with a perplexed expression when suddenly, Soenjae's voice cut in. It was getting to the point where it hurt to see his usually smiling face turn so cold whenever he looked at me. I was beyond sad and on the verge of tears. I couldn't open my mouth easily, so I just fidgeted with my lips. Soenjae stood up, walked over to the wall, and grabbed an apron. What's he going to do with that? I looked up, only to have him place the apron over my head, covering my face. I blinked at him in utter bewilderment, and he stared at me with an expressionless face. It's the same. What? Holding the ends of the apron tied under my chin, Soenjae lifted my face. I tilted my head back slightly, meeting his gaze. You look just like the person who ran off with the apron that time. Oh, that's it. What are you? What? What's your deal? I'm your fan. Soenjae pushed his phone in front of me. Log in. What? Log into what? The fan cafe you claimed you joined but never posted in. Log in. This was a problem. The cafe was set up 4 years from now, so how could I log in? If it exists, I'll believe you. You don't have to believe me. Soenjae's eyebrows drew closer together. Oh crap. How do I get out of this? Soenjae stood in front of me as if he wouldn't move until I took the phone. Reluctantly, I accepted it. Finally, he removed the apron from my face and returned to his seat, staring at me as if telling me to hurry up. Next to him, Park In-hyuk was grinning broadly, clearly enjoying the situation. This is driving me crazy. I opened the internet browser and typed Soenjae into the cafe search bar. I scrolled through the results until I found a cafe called People Who Love Soenjae. I clicked on it, hoping for a miracle, but there were no posts. The cafe had been set up but wasn't active, with only 3 members. Should I try to bluff it? While I hesitated, Soenjae snatched the phone from my hand. No, wait, that's not. Soenjae's face hardened. Park In-hyuk peeked at the screen over Soenjae's shoulder and burst out laughing. This is hilarious. Park In-hyuk took the phone from Soenjae's hand, laughing openly as he looked at the screen. The cafe's banner featured a picturesque view of Soenjae Island, which was understandable why he found it funny. Soenjae looked at me with an expression that was beyond annoyed. He seemed utterly incredulous. Even though it was the past, seeing the person I liked look at me with such disdain was a bit heartbreaking. Why would there be a fan cafe when I don't have any fans? I couldn't say anything, and Park In-hyuk continued to laugh out loud. I found this in my desk drawer today. Soenjae opened his bag wide to reveal it filled with papers. They were all the warning letters I had secretly left in his desk. I thought he had read them and put them back, but apparently not. Soenjae pulled out one letter and began to read it aloud. This letter is from the future. You must believe and act on the contents of this letter. If you do not believe the contents, great misfortune will follow. Please believe this letter and let good fortune be with you. If you have a friend over 180 centimeters tall who looks like a cat, keep your distance. And avoid anything with potatoes. If you suffer from insomnia, watch a documentary about the mysteries of the universe. You will be able to sleep without sleeping pills. Soenjae lowered the letter and looked at me coldly. His gaze was icy. I checked other desks just in case, but only my desk had these. I had nothing to say. Of course, they wouldn't be in other desks. I only put them in yours. Why are you doing this to me? I gripped the strap of my bag. My heart was pounding so hard and my face felt so hot that it was hard to stay seated. Are you from the future? Do you find it fun to play this kind of prank on me? My nose started to tingle. For some reason, I felt so wrong that I scrunched up my face. I'm sorry. Soenjae kept staring at me. But it wasn't a prank. It wasn't fun at all. I'm doing this because you. Because what? The lump in my throat made my voice hoarse. I won't do it again. I'm sorry. I pushed my chair back and quickly ran out of the restaurant. I hadn't done anything wrong, but I felt so wrong that I wanted to cry. It was absurd that I thought I could save Soenjae just because I came from the future. I didn't even know how or why I ended up here. Hey. As soon as I heard his voice, Soenjae grabbed my wrist from behind, making me turn around. As I faced him, my eyes welled up, and tears began to fall. Why are you crying? Soenjae's expression softened as I started crying. I pulled my arm away as I cried, and Soenjae released his grip. I won't show up again. I won't go to your school. But I wasn't lying. Really. I walked away, crying loudly. I looked back to see Soenjae standing there, looking conflicted. Soenjae, you can hate me, but don't hate the letters. With that, I turned and walked away. I rubbed my eyes with my hand, crying loudly as I distanced myself from Soenjae. He didn't follow me as I walked away, bawling. I eventually found a bench in an empty park and sat down. I buried my face in my knees, sobbing, when my phone vibrated in my pocket. I reached into my pocket to pull it out and grabbed my pocket watch instead. Lifting my face from my knees, I pulled out the watch and opened the lid. It's all your fault. I felt wronged and blamed the watch. At that moment, the hands clicked into place and the watch face started to glow. Oh. Oh no. I squeezed my eyes shut. I felt the bright light fade away. I heard loud pop music playing from somewhere. My heart was still racing. With my hands clenched into fists, I slowly opened my eyes. Everything was dark and I couldn't see anything. I blinked a few times and as my eyes adjusted to the darkness, familiar surroundings came into view. No way. A poster of Soenjae with bleached yellow hair wearing a beige sweater was on the wall. Oh. I clutched the blanket with both hands and looked around the room before getting up. I walked over to the wall and ran my hand over the poster. It was the same poster I got with an album purchase. Next to it were photo cards and a slogan that read, "I love you, Soenjae." Did I come back? I had spent nearly a month in the past. Since I woke up on my bed, I might have been lying here like a corpse, unable to receive any calls or messages. If so, my family must have been worried about not being able to reach me. There would probably be a ton of missed calls. I hurried to my bed to find my phone. Thinking about how I would explain everything, I pressed the phone's button. 1 o'clock, January 1st, X day. I stared blankly at the date. January 1st. 1 o'clock. Only about an hour had passed here. Was it a dream? It felt incredibly vivid and long, but I had lived each day in the past sincerely, every single minute and second. It couldn't have been a dream. I sat there, frowning at the strange situation, then opened an internet browser. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would jump out of my chest. My hands trembled as I typed Ryu Soenjae, and the keyboard kept registering it incorrectly. I steadied my thumb and carefully typed each letter. My heart dropped. The portal site was filled with articles about celebrities visiting Soenjae's memorial. Actors and senior artists from his agency had visited. Most of the articles featured photos of the gaunt members of his group, Soenjae. There was even a close-up photo of Park In-hyuk crying in Soenjae's arms. Nothing had changed. I dropped my phone weakly. Was it really just a dream? I couldn't believe it and stared blankly at the wall. I turned on the light and went to the bathroom to wash my face. The reflection in the mirror showed puffy eyes from crying in my sleep. I slapped my cheeks hard enough to make a sound. My eyes squinted automatically. It hurts. I wiped my face with a towel and left the bathroom. Sitting on my bed, I stared blankly at Soenjae's poster. I was just eating ganjatang with you. I looked at my wrist, the one Soenjae had grabbed. It felt too vivid to be a dream. If I had truly been in the past and returned, did Soenjae not believe me? There was no way to verify anything. I couldn't go to Soenjae's memorial and ask Park In-hyuk if he remembered eating ganjatang with me. If meeting them were that easy, I wouldn't have missed them at concerts or failed to get into music shows. I stared at my feet, feeling a strange sense of unease. My heart kept pounding like ripples in still water. Soenjae's eyes kept flashing in my mind. It was too real to dismiss as just a dream. I lifted my head. Clenching my fist, I decided I had nothing to lose. Grabbing my coat, wallet, and phone, I dashed outside. As soon as I reached the main street, I flagged down a taxi. I knew where Soenjae's memorial was from the internet articles. The dark scenery quickly passed by outside the window. My hands kept sweating. When I arrived at the hospital where Soenjae's memorial was, there were many people, including journalists and security guards, despite the late hour. Naturally, there was no way I could get into Soenjae's memorial. I wandered around and sat in the flower bed behind the funeral hall, logging into Soenjae's Instagram. The latest post was one I had commented on. It was a picture of Soenjae wearing a cap and drinking a plain yogurt smoothie. Seeing his wide-eyed face sucking on a straw made tears well up. Was it really a dream? A tear dropped onto my phone screen. Wiping my tears with my sleeve, I sniffled and noticed someone walking out of the dark path where there was no street light. Rubbing my eyes, I saw a tall, handsome figure even in the darkness. I lowered my hand and blinked. Park In-hyuk. Dressed in a black suit, Park In-hyuk turned to look at me with a haggard face. It was really him. Shocked, I jumped up, and he turned to go back inside. Quickly, I ran and grabbed his arm, thrusting my face towards him. Hey, do you remember me?
Huh?
His face was expressionless and cold. We ate ganjatang together at Ryugundeok Ganjatang.
Huh?
Park In-hyuk looked at me with a sharp, icy gaze before pulling his arm away forcefully and walking back into the building. The security guards at the entrance prevented me from following him. Park In-hyuk genuinely didn't seem to recognize me. I had come here on a whim, hoping for a miracle. Meeting Park In-hyuk was indeed miraculous, but his reaction made it seem more like a dream than a trip back in time. Maybe I'm just too sad and losing my mind, in Seoul. Leaving the hospital, I headed to the main road to catch a taxi back home. Unlike the trip here, where my heart raced and my hands sweated, the ride back home felt hollow and empty. That damn dream left my chest aching. It felt like I lost someone I truly knew, not just a celebrity. Resting my head against the window, tears silently streamed down my face. The TV volume was so high that the loud music was pounding through the walls. It was 2 a.m. I pounded my fist against the wall. Turn down the TV. In response, someone from the other side pounded back even louder. Shut up. I glared at the wall, then pounded it once more. I took off my socks and clothes. As I was about to put on an old farming volunteer shirt hanging on a chair, I noticed it smelled musty, so I tossed it into the laundry basket and opened a drawer. As I rummaged through the drawer for something to wear at home, I found an unfamiliar piece of clothing.
Huh?
I pulled out the garment from the bottom of the drawer. My heart pounded as I unfolded it. It was a pair of grey sweatpants. There was a single white line running down each side, and the right pocket had the emblem of Jagam High School embroidered on it. It was the sweatpants I had bought from Soenjae on Junganara. Why is this here? I held the emblem up to my eyes, verifying it was indeed Jagam High School's emblem. The only explanation was that I had brought it back from the past because I had bought it there. It wasn't a dream. I really went there. I rummaged through the pockets of the clothes I'd thrown on the floor. Pulling out the pocket watch, I opened the lid and checked the hour hand. It was just past 2 o'clock. How did I get there? I had been crying in bed when it happened. I sat on the bed and stared at the pocket watch. No matter how I looked at it, it was just a watch. But when the hour hand struck 1 o'clock, it glowed and returned me to my original time. How was it when I went there? I recalled the moment. It wasn't exactly on the hour. It was just after the New Year greetings had sounded. I examined the watch closely, noticing it had no crown to wind it. What kind of watch is this? As I pressed the glass face with my thumb, it cracked with a loud noise and light leaked out from the edges. What? Recognizing the sound, my eyes widened. Oh, I'm going. The expanding light suddenly engulfed my vision. Squinting against the brightness, I yelled. I'm going. After a moment, the light that had seemed about to burst out suddenly disappeared. Even with my eyes tightly shut, I could sense it.